All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll let everybody file on in here as we get started with today's webinar. Good stuff today. I think this is going to be a really informative one and helpful, especially for those of you that might be newer to Studio. Um, today, what we're going to be discussing is Mastering Studio Designer Tips for Streamlining Your Workflow. Now, again, most of these are probably going to be more or less uh, optional, but Julie is going to go ahead and discuss with us today about what these tips are, how to implement them into your workflow, making things run more smoothly and efficiently. And with that being said, Julia, thank you for joining us today and putting on this webinar.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
I am doing great.
Good.
Getting myself oriented here. Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
Not yet, but we're getting there. So for those of you, let's see if I get through this without coughing. So those of you who don't know who Julia is, she is one of our financial consultants that is available to hire for services like what you're seeing on the screen. So bookkeeping and accounting support, including CFO services for both large and small businesses and everything in between. She also is specializing in unique and complex accounting needs of interior design firms and showrooms. So I think that pertains to all of you folks today. She also has a comprehensive procurement. I got to change the way that that's written because that's always the one that gets me. There's a comprehensive procurement service that she offers for designers and showrooms alike. With that being said, the last house cleaning item we have today is this is a Q&A session. So as Julia goes through all of her content today, and sharing her tips. There's a QA box in your Zoom toolbar. Looks like a green question mark, I believe. If not, just a question mark in a box. Click that, and then that will bring up the window where you can enter in all of your questions. Don't leave them to memory. If you have one at any time, put it in during the webinar, and Julia will answer them as she goes along. Now, with that being said, Julia, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you are all set to go.
Perfect. Okay, let me share my right screen. So let's just confirm with my correct screen. Let's make sure that is up and running. Can we see Studio?
Yep, locked in.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on time zone. Thank you so much for joining us as always. Anthony is a lovely MC. I'm going to start hiring you for services.
Nice. Nice.
Um, we are diving right in today and talking about item workflow. So, as I'm sure many of you know, the functionality of Studio Designer is deep, if that's a good word, right? There's a lot of moving parts, and the system and the software has a lot of different capabilities.
Deep or
So
robust would be the right term.
yes,
Sure.
yes, perfect. Thank you. That's yes, robust. That's absolutely true. And so, what are the best steps for items and really just for workflow in general from point A to point Z? So I talk a lot about we have a new client coming on, or potentially even a firm that's been with Studio a long time, but they're new to our firm. We talk about the item workflow and the item life cycle quite a bit. So we're going to dive right in. Please, 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 by all means, there's a Q&A box. It lives wherever your Zoom toolbar is. So go ahead and click on that. And if you have a question, whether it's applicable to a screen that we're in, or if it's a little bit off topic, just pop that in there so that we could get all of your questions answered in real time. So my test client in here is 19th Street. So I'm going to go and hop right into 19th Street. So assuming you're either a longtime Studio user or you're newer to Studio, you have all of your address IDs set up and functional. I would say just some tips and tricks regarding your addresses. So on the client side, right, put as much information into the client as you can, including managing your contacts. So that way, when you're sending invoices and proposals to the clients, all of that information is in one place. A little bit of a helpful hint on the vendor side, each one of your vendor IDs has the ability to track user ID and password. So it's a really great tool for getting any type of trade account login into one place so that the whole team has access to it at one time. So let's assume all of that is perfect and you're starting off with your workflow. So we could talk a little bit about design tools, Anthony. I've been bringing it up quite a bit to clients. And it's been really successsul.
You know what?
So
I was just thinking about that earlier this morning, and I was going to ask you how did that go with your client?
I would actually say I think it went really great. So like the feedback has been, so just for everyone's reference, right? So design tools is new. Anthony really spearheaded the all of the webinars and the training for the design tool feature right here. And he's really an amazing resource. And if you have any questions, obviously just please feel free to email support. So design tools now lives right at the very top. And I would actually say it lives right at the very top because it's the beginning of your workflow. So for reference, design tools natively integrates with PowerPoint. So for those of you that are doing PowerPoint presentations, in my personal opinion, this is a no-brainer for you. You should be putting every spec and or image that you're potentially presenting on a PowerPoint presentation to a client into the design tools functionality. If PowerPoint is not your presentation software of choice, design tools, you can copy and paste into Canva, InDesign, and Google Slides. Anthony, do you know, is there a native integration coming at any point in time for those other three softwares?
Our development team has been talking about it, but right
Okay.
now there's integration, which is with PowerPoint, and there's compatibility with other software platforms like Canva, uh, uh, oh my gosh, Google
Oh,
Slides.
Google Slides, yeah, and in
Yeah,
this,
like
I think,
the
right?
major ones out there, you can use, and it's literally a right click, copy, paste on the slide. The quality copies over exactly. That would be the easiest way to use those other ones if you don't have PowerPoint.
Mhm. So, in a lot of our, well, again, it depends on how you structure the creative part of your workflow within the office. So, are you, for example, still a firm that's in Pinterest? Would moving over your Pinterest images and inspirations be helpful to you in managing them right here in Design Tools? So, Design Tools is a way to do that, right? So you could get it. We're calling them inspirations. So inspirations are not items. Inspirations can potentially turn into items. Inspirations are searchable, just like your item screen, and they're actually taggable. So if you look at this, for example, antique mirror, you're able to add different tags and a numerous amount of tags. So there's not a limited amount to any single inspiration within Studio. And then if you'd like to then turn this inspiration into an item, you would do it with this great button down here. So again, for those of you too, so I usually go to Pottery Barn as my example. So how do you get the inspirations into Studio to begin with? You could obviously manually enter them, or you could always use your Studio widget for to add any inspiration to your inspiration library. So, or inspiration. So if we wanted to do that, we should probably close this out so I could select something. We're going to select whatever this blanket thing is. Oh, it's a quilt. That makes more sense. Here's a quilt. We're going to add it in quickly. And oh my golly. So it's helping us, right? It grabbed the top line description and grabbed the image. I'm not liking these special characters, so I just delete this here and I scroll down to add this long description that I like. Oh, I don't want it to be an item. I want it to be an inspiration. Oh, sorry, let me fix that. I don't want this description. I do it here. It's picking up my source website. And if I click on more information, I could even add pricing. We get the question a lot of, well, should we add pricing or should we not? And I would say it really depends. So if pricing isn't on your presentation, it may not make sense to add pricing into here because from the time the presentation occurs to the time of ordering, pricing could change. But everybody has their own opinion on that. I would obviously tag it to the vendor and I would tag it to the sales code. And so I create an inspiration. And so as soon as I do that, it populates right into my inspiration library. Do you think I remember what item I created? I don't. And then from here, whoops. Oh, quilt. Let's look up quilt. So then from here, depending on how I manage my presentations, is this helpful, even if you're in Canva, for whoever's putting together those presentations to copy and paste this image and add to your Canva board? The answer could be yes. I think the answer could be no. We've had really great success. This is what Anthony was talking about. I would say over the last 6 months, just giving the design firms the option to say, okay, do you like this? Is it something you would like to try out and add into your workflow? It does keep information organized. You could also, in theory, quickly say to yourself or the team, oh my gosh, what was that quilt that the Smiths decided not to go forward with, but it was on their presentation for the master bedroom a year ago. So if you were building out your inspiration library, you'd be able to very quickly go in here. You could search by the client. You could search by the word quilt. We should make it searchable by vendor, Anthony, but maybe we could make that an internal note, because that's actually what I tried to do. I tried to put in Pottery Barn.
Can you put in Pottery Barn in that search field right there?
Oh, I mean, yes, but you know, I
You
can't.
you like the drop down. I get it.
I do. I mean, I do, because especially like, well, what if I had a million? What if I've been using Inspiration Library for a year and a half and I had 10,000 Pottery Barns? I,
100%.
you
That
know,
would be kind of crazy.
yeah, I mean, yes, and I probably need a new vendor. Like I'm not doing a good job. So tags too. I mean, I actually think tags for Inspiration Library have been game changing. We've had nothing but positive feedback about tags. So just again, think about it in terms of how do you like to organize your information? Is this a helpful resource and a helpful tool for you? Give it a try on a new presentation and see if you like it. For those of you though that are in PowerPoint, again, to me, I would share. I'm always a little bit scared to share everything on my screen, but if you go to PowerPoint and then put in whether it's like plugin, it's right there at the top corner to say like you find additional like plugin softwares. If you type in Studio Designer, it actually pops right up. It's super easy to add. And then this entire inspiration. Hold on, I really want to show you because this is how excited I was, Anthony, that I figured this out myself. PowerPoint. And it was so fun that I really liked it. Oh, that's a great question about tags. Yes, I could absolutely explain tags. Sorry, I stopped sharing because I wanted to, oh here, I wanted to open up PowerPoint. So I opened up PowerPoint. And so when you go right up here to the right-hand corner, if you go to add-ins and search in Studio, it will automatically then pin Inspiration Library to your PowerPoint presentation. And then I would need to log in with my test database, which I can do. Hold on. Which I can do. And then you can drag and drop, and all of your presentation material is in one place. And then, yes, let's talk about tags. Okay, let me share again. Got it. No, go away. And so, right, do I want to add these? And so I was playing around with this the other day with a client. Give it a try. And if you're open to, like, we've had a couple of clients say, you know what, we're currently in Canva, but this native integration is such a big deal for us that we're thinking about switching. So again, just keep that in mind. Let's go back into our inspiration library. So tags, I would say, are similar to Pinterest. And how Pinterest is set up. It's just another way to organize information. So how do you want to organize information? Tags in Studio now are completely customizable. And so our tags in our test database are set up for accessories, baby bed, you could see bedding, case goods. They're just a way to keep things, again, organized. So if I wanted to tag this to funny bedding, I'm going to hit save and close. I could then go into my inspiration library and say, oh, well, show me everything that I've ever tagged to bedding. So that way, when I'm sourcing or when I'm putting together presentations, I'm able to log into my inspirations to say, oh, right, this quilt here was a really big hit with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I'd like to use it again. Oh, that's a really great question that I actually, this may be an Anthony question. If you have an existing PowerPoint presentation, can you go back and assign it to an item? I'm assuming the answer is no, but I'll let Anthony chime in.
So you're saying the question is if you have an old PowerPoint that you want to attach to an inspiration or an item, can you do that? Yes, you would have to download or you'd have to save the PowerPoint presentation as a PDF file, which is totally doable, totally easy. You just save it as and then select that file type and then take that file and attach it to either the inspiration or the item.
Interesting. Okay, that's great to know.
Yeah, it makes it really, really, really simple. And like, there's so many other things with design tools. Like, I feel like this is the one area of Studio that I geek out on, but like, this was designed purely for the creative aspect of designer's business. And so, like everything in here doesn't always necessarily need to become an item. It can remain an inspiration. It might not even be a piece of merchandise. It could be a picture that you saw as a sunset that somehow inspired you, right? Like that's why it's an inspiration and not an item. So it doesn't even have to actually become an item for a project. It could just purely be there for, that morsel, if you will, of inspiration when you're starting a project and you're sharing that with your clients.
Yeah. Um, Someone else actually, I'm sorry, we're backtracking a little bit. So what do we do with the inspiration to make it an item? So we'll definitely go through that so that that's actually a great item. It's just a great workflow suggestion. So can you make an individual item present from the presentation and inspiration? So on one page you have a sofa, coffee table, etc., and I want to assign an item so we can build a quote. Anthony, I would imagine no, right?
So the question is, say on one page you have the sofa, coffee table, etc., and I want to assign an item number so we can build a quote. Nadine, what you'd want to do is just change if you're at that stage, after you've created the inspiration, you would just create it into an item at that point, and then you could put it on a proposal or request a quote from the vendor if you have all that information pulled in already. All of the information that's in the inspiration will transfer over to the item. So it's literally create an item and all the information's there and you can save it and it exists. And then you can treat it like a normal item for the project. That's what I would do if that's what you're talking about. But from the actual slide itself, you wouldn't be able to.
Because it's only talking from Studio into PowerPoint, not from PowerPoint into Studio. Maybe that actually clears it up a bit.
Correct. Yeah, it's a one-way street in regard.
Yeah, one-way street, exactly. So the question too of turning the inspiration into an item. So that's actually one of the main, well, I mean, I think there's many positives of the inspiration library, but one of them is, so from here, you added all of these beautiful pictures to your presentation. The client agreed and you're moving forward. And so now what? So now you would go back into the original inspiration. So we have this quilt and we want to make this an item, right? That's part of our workflow. So if I open up the inspiration, down here, there's this gray button that says add to client project. So I'm working in 19th Street. Again, that's my test client. And I'm going to add this to, well, let's make this 19th Street, by the way, is Mr. and Mrs. Tom Hanks. So the fact that Mia Williams and Brad's apartment is tied to here is just funny. Do I have anything set up for night office? Well, let's make the Tom, how about we're going to put this quilt into Tom's basement and we're going to hit save. As soon as you hit save though, actually that nothing happens. It's literally just similar to the tag up here. It's just earmarking. It's saying, oh, you want to turn this inspiration over into an item, but then you have to click on this gray create item screen. And now you're in your item page. And so now what would you do? So you would confirm pricing. So that's a part of this where I want to make sure that for example, to like our firms are clear. So there may be a lag from inspiration to presentation to approval to proposal. So your goal is to still double check all pricing. That would be your best workflow internally, and who does that and how do you do that varies in terms of staffing and process a bit. But before you turn this over into an actual item and add it to a proposal, make sure you're double checking your pricing. So I'm still logged into this particular item. My full queen is $2.99. I don't have a discount. I don't know. It doesn't even matter. We're pretending we don't have a discount with Pottery Barn, which is very, very bad. So we turned this inspiration over. I added my ship to because I obviously needed to ship to somewhere. My description copied over. I want to sync my description here, and then I actually want to unsync, and I want to add my SKU, because that would be part of my normal process. SKU number, blah, blah, blah. Great. Here's my item number. Here's my component. It's in this room. It's in Tom's basement, which is just odd, but that's okay. $2.99 is the cost. I want to add freight, because I always want to make sure my freight is correct. What should my freight be? $99? Seems like a lot. It's okay. $99. Yes, yes, markup, sure, 35%, and apply. Okay, so now this is, what did we do? Quilt. So, and now it lives in my item screen, which is perfect. I verified my pricing, and I'm ready to put this on a proposal. I don't know if I have any other items to put on a proposal, but let's pretend we're only sending this one. So I've turned all of my inspirations over into items. My images are attached. Helpful hint for those of you who maybe haven't seen the blurbs or the pop-ups, but now under each of your client IDs, you can default your images and attachments folder. So I highly recommend that you do that here. And that way you could drag and drop into your, into this screen, instead of having to go and upload into this screen. So that's just something that could be potentially helpful. So what are your next steps? Well, so your next steps are to add items to proposals. We're selecting our items here. We're creating a proposal. I would say some best or some really good standards would be to make sure somebody at your office is reviewing proposals. Who does that? Varies, not a right or a wrong, but somebody should be reviewing proposals before they get sent out to a client. Additionally, remember your colors here are a great tool and your friend. So they are now located, all of the colors are located under settings, and they're called color status. And you could open them up. You could rename them. Maybe, that's really funny. Let's name maybe. I don't know. Undetermined, we're naming them. Undetermined, that's a long word. There is now also 20 colors, so which is why so many things say strong blue, strong brown, strong gray, which is, I think, the #1 request out of years of studio support tickets was please add more colors. So colors are your friend. So you added this item to a proposal. There isn't any place in Studio and under codes where you have a proposal approved box, but a great workaround for that is to use colors. So actually, that's actually why I went in here, and then I think I got distracted. PO approved. I don't know what no means. Back order approved. Let's actually make approved. Whoops. Okay, you don't like that. Yes, I believe there is a way to change the way the colors appear. That just came out the other day, but we could do it together. I don't know why I didn't like my. Or Anthony, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I thought you could, now that they rearranged it this way, that we could move the colors and we from in the order that they appear.
Maybe I can double check on that, but
Maybe that's coming. I know, Susan, that's been a frequent request, because but the colors were laid out left to right in 3 rows before, or 4 rows. And so now they're here, and I thought that is a goal. If it's not currently available, I do think it's on a radar.
yeah, I can double check the release notes and see.
Approved attention. Oh, I wanted to change approved and it didn't like it. So we're going to make this proposal approved. So approved, great. And so I'm back in my item screen. I've added this item to a proposal. Internally, there's a design director or a senior or the principal. Somebody's reviewing my proposal. So this proposal is, I sent it via email to so-and-so, and they know that they need to go in and change this status to proposal approved before it gets sent to the client. From here, I send the proposal to the client. How do you do that? Many ways, right? You could send it directly out of Studio. You don't have to. We get asked that question a lot, of right or wrong, and I would say personal preference. So some things to keep in mind. If you do send it out of Studio, it is really great. You can always see in your proposal screen here. Now it'll be hard for us. Let's see if we have anything at all emailed ever. Ooh, oh, we do here. If you look at this proposal and you look at history, you're actually able to see when did I email this client and did the client open it, which may be hard for us in this database. July, October. It's 2, let's see. Maybe not. Removed. Anyway, it definitely oh, here. So this was shared. Oh, and open. So it was delivered, and then it'll tell you when it was opened. So we have a lot of clients that actually really like that. So not only do they like emailing it out of Studio, I would always recommend that you copy yourself. I know I personally search for proposal numbers in my inbox to say, oh my gosh, when was 105.68 sent? Was it sent 1 time, 2 times, 3 times? Because something in this screen to keep in mind is even though the proposal screen here will tell you when something was emailed, if you re-email it, it overrides this date. So it doesn't keep a email 1, email 2, email 3. You could search for it here in history and go through, line by line by line, but it would only tell you the most recent email date. So no matter how you do it, I just always like a record. So if I'm sending it out of my own email as a regular attachment, I'm able to search for it that way. And if I send it out of Studio, I still like to copy myself as well, so that I could still search for it by proposal number in an email. So we're back in our item screen. We sent this to the client. The client approved it. 19th Street, very coincidentally, they have a ton of money set in their client deposit, so they're very easy to work with. And I'm going to go in and I apply the money right away out of their client deposit account, client funds. As you can see, they have $824,000 available, which is fantastic. And so now in my item screen, my item is showing as paid. And so that's my trigger to be able to order, right? We should always all be in the habit of only ordering items not before we have client money. So client money needs to be first, right? So item, proposal, money on proposal, then PO. So we have the money on the proposal, the client approved for it. We could now go ahead and begin ordering. Helpful hint, if you have more than one item on a purchase order to the same vendor, maybe I'll duplicate it. I don't know, we'll call this additional. They wanted 1 more, but they wanted 4 more. They got really excited, they loved it. They were like, oh, please buy me 4 more. So now we have 4 more, and we're actually going to go ahead and add it to proposal 619 because and I want to give an example. So I duplicated this item quickly because Tom called me and said, I really love this quilt. Can you please order me 4 more? I went in and I duplicated the item. As you can see, the duplicate item button is back now, right? It's right here at the bottom, which is fantastic. And if you noticed, I very quickly went in and I added this item to this proposal. When I do that, I could do that actually to any of my proposal orders or invoices. I would say a lot of precautions in terms of adding it to orders or invoices. The system will not stop you, so just be very mindful to make sure that you know what you're doing and when you're doing it. But for proposals, there's, for the most part, not really a negative to adding or removing items to a proposal this way in this screen. So I added it to 100,619. I still followed my process. I emailed, I don't know, Susie from my office, and she approved it. So now it's green. I still also, right, I have so much money from this client that it's easy, and I'm going to apply the balance of the proposal before I start my ordering. Okay. Here we are. And so, oops, let's just refresh. And so now my money is here and I'm ready to order. In a perfect world, somebody at the office as well would be approving purchase orders. Is that you? Is that somebody else? It's just a way to double check that pricing is correct, quantities are correct, and ship tos are correct. So here's my example though. So this particular item has a ship to of the project, 19th Street. And this particular item, the ship to is blank. Your ship to is by item. You can have multiple items to one vendor for a client, right? But if you have different ship tos or one of your ship tos is blank, as soon as you create an order, if you notice up here, the system generated 2 orders for me because it's recognizing that my ship to is different. My ship to here is Boulder, Colorado, and my ship to here is TBD. You can't have, if you're trying to communicate, and Pottery Barn isn't a great example, but you can't have items with different ship tos on one proposal. It doesn't work. So that is why it automatically generated you 2. How do you fix it? And then you realize, you're like, oh shoot, it really can go to one ship to, let me fix it. So you have to void this, if you want to combine them on the same order, the order that has the blank ship to, you have to void and go into then the item with the blank ship to. Oh, actually don't do anything yet. Go to save. It should be 617. I'm trying, let's see if it lets me. Oh, no, sorry. Disregard, 1 sec. So this is order 200,616. Okay. So my ship to is blank. I want to add it to 200,616, but I can't. It's not letting me because it's recognizing that my ship to isn't the same. The system is preventing you from getting the vendor confused and issuing an incorrect order. As soon as I change my ship to 19th Street, I'm able to add to 200,616. It's giving me sort of a notice and an error, not necessarily an error, but like a warning. Oh my gosh, you're doing something. Are you sure you're understanding that there may be accounting and general ledger entries? From my perspective, I am comfortable adding items to orders. I would again just caution you for best practices. Potentially, if this is on a same day, if this is next day, you're fine. Once you start spanning periods of time, this functionality can become, I don't want to say inaccurate, but can cause issues. So just be very mindful. But so now my order is created. My order has one ship to, it has 2 different items. They're the same item because I'm very creative. And I had my order approved by somebody at the office. I think we have a PO approved. We do. So our office protocol is to make sure every PO, just the same as every proposal, is looked at before ordering begins. It's preventing us from wasting dollars, etc. So I did my part. I sent it to whoever at the office is supposed to approve it. And then I very quickly need to select these items here. And I'm going to update my color. But I want to update my color not on an individual basis, but on a group basis here. So I'm selecting all of my items. And if you go to your 3 dots, here's your bulk update feature. Hopefully everybody at this point is familiar with bulk update and update dates. 2 really great features, add-ons. They've been around a long time with numerous improvements over the years. But bulk update allows you to change your item code 1 and item code 2 for numerous items at one time, and also for your color codes here. So I'm making both of these PO approved. Yes? Save. So my PO is approved and I'm ready to order these. I'm going to order these on Pottery Barn's website. I am going to, what am I going to do? I am going to pay for it on my Amex. I did not do a good job of selecting my vendor percentage. Let's go look. It's set to 0, which also means, let's see, my Pottery Barn vendor is probably potentially set to 0, and it shouldn't be. So if you're noticing that on a purchase order or like an individual item basis, go into that vendor and click around and say, oh, look, it does say purchase deposit 100%. It then could potentially be my sales codes. What are my sales codes saying? So this is accessories. Is my sales code set up in a way that it's preventing me from paying 100% on a purchase order? Sales codes. Let's go to antiques. In theory, one should be overriding the other. Actually, let me go look at the client too. The more information you could get entered into the item screen correctly, the better. Oh no, these look correct. Let's see. These shouldn't be set up in any way. What's my sales code is 19th Street. My deposit percentage copied over from my client side. It did not copy over from my vendor side. We checked that, didn't we? Check it again. Would you like to say no? Pottery Barn codes, purchase deposit 100, purchase tax deposit 100. We don't mark up by vendor. Sometimes this could get a bit goofy. Net terms 30. Oh, actually, let's go look at, maybe we should go look at terms quick. So this is a funny vendor terms. Where are they? I would say a funny code. Oh, terms. Net terms. So deposit percentage, discount percentage, net is deposit percentage is 0. So depending on how you use your vendor terms may unfortunately be overriding your vendor deposit percentage on the vendor ID. So let's actually do a test. This is a great, so we saved this. So we took out that vendor term because that vendor term, it looks like it's currently set to vendor deposit 0, and I don't want that. And net 30 is not an applicable vendor term with Pottery Barn. Let's just enter a test quick. So we said save. Oh, what doesn't it like country, United States? So I fixed that vendor term, and let's see, as soon as I enter a new item for Pottery Barn, does it populate 100%? And it does. So that vendor term, these vendor terms, the ones that come preset with Studio, I think could be a little bit funny. They're not necessarily super helpful. We use them in a different way and as a communication tool with how the vendor likes to be paid. But what you may not know is the vendor term itself may have deposit percentages set up on the back end that are then impacting your deposit percentages on your proposal. So why did it catch my eye? Because when I went to go pay for this order, I wanted to pay for it in full. And I'm like, shoot, how come none of the items are set to 100%? It's Pottery Barn. We're usually always paying 100% unless it's a long lead time. When I clicked on Pottery Barn as the vendor, nothing stood out to me. Those deposit percentages for the vendor were correct, but it was that vendor term that was defaulting to zeros and overriding this number here. So as soon as I took out my vendor terms, my percentage deposit wound up working correctly. But I still want to make it accurate on the item screen now. And remember, anytime you make changes to your vendor ID or your client ID, it doesn't impact old items. It only impacts new items moving forward. So I changed this to 100. So we're now at 100. Oh, I was going in to pay my PO. I already forgot. So now we're at 100%. I'm paying this with my Amex because Amex is my favorite. Oh, 319 post vendor. Okay, great. I paid for the vendor. I paid for the order. I paid the vendor. What's next? So I upload all my vendor documentation to my items. Here I have more than one item, so I'm not uploading it here. I'm uploading it. No. I'm uploading it here on the PO. If you go to your item screen, there's a blue button that says choose file to attach to all items. So this is only 2 items, but if you have a PO with 10 items, 5 items, 22 items, please, please, please don't go in and upload the same document to every one of those items. Go into the PO and click choose file to attach. And I'm going to have some random ones, but I'm going to attach all of these. Whoops. So I'm going to hit save. And now if I go back into my item screen, I could see here my pay-per-click is telling me that in addition to my 1 image, I now uploaded 5 documents to each of these items as well. So click on that. They get automatically uploaded with the description document. You can change the description. You don't have to change the description. It's really up to you. If you change the description, right, we always quote 1. We'll do quote 2. We'll do CC authorization form because why not keep everything in one place? This is not a good example. It's Pottery Barn. Invoice 2, but it doesn't matter. So invoice 1, invoice 2. These documents typically, depending on your settings on the client, on the company level, would not become visible to client, visible to vendor. And you wouldn't want them visible to client. Mostly all contracts that we see we do not disclose client vendor information to our clients unless potentially we're working in the political space, which I think it's much more common for transparency there. But I can link all of these documents to my purchase order for my vendor. So if I click these visible to vendor, and it's just on this one item. So remember, the documents, even though we uploaded them in the PO, we attached them to both items. If I go into this item, they're not renamed here. I only renamed them in that first item. So think about that in terms of, do you want to rename your documents or do you not? Oh, yes, Rosemary and I are thinking the same thing. It would be great if we could enter, if the description here could populate. Yes, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think some offices don't even necessarily rename it. It says document, document, document. I click through all my documents anyway. It's if you're hyperlinking where that could potentially maybe be a little bit sloppy. So I hyperlinked only on this item, not on this item. And so if I go to my PO, and I have to go to PDF. I'm going to toggle my attachments on, and I'm going to hit save. And now you can see my first item has all of those documents hyperlinked here. I have no idea what they are, but they're hyperlinked. My second item, even though it's the same, even though I attached them, I didn't hyperlink them. And so they're not displaying. So this is a great tool for vendors that require any type of backup documentation, millwork drawings, credit card authorizations, anyone that you're sending additional information to. Instead of attaching all those additional documents in an email, attach them all to the order and send through one order attached to an email with everything hyperlinked. So now my item is ordered. Now my item is paid for. My status here still says PO approval. This is where I think process can really change at different firms. How much do you want to rely on colors? And how much do you want to use codes? Sorry, it's now called colors and not priorities. So every single item has this wonderful codes tab. And the codes tab is here for ordering and expediting. So once the order has been placed, how do you track that order and move it forward? These date fields down here filter through to an expediting report. We may look at one briefly, but there's definitely additional webinars and additional information regarding expediting and how best to use the expediting reports especially. So these fields are fantastic, and I mean that. They are detailed and there's a lot of them. So our recommendation is once you start ordering, decide as a firm which of these dates you want to use and be consistent about using them, because your filters within these date fields will be immensely, immensely helpful. So could you also assign an order color? I don't know if I have one, meaning ordered a color. You can, but you should be using the dates, and the most important ones would be, order acknowledged, received, delivered, though not everybody goes to a receiver, so sometimes it's just delivered, and then something having to do with either estimated ship or estimated delivery date, right? Like these can be interchangeable. So use about 3 or so as your non-negotiables, and then from there continue to build on. Warehouse receipt is applicable for obviously your receiver, if your receiver is tagging every individual item that's received, put that number in here because you can have a custom expediting report for the client, for the receiver, when you're getting ready to do an install or to do a double check. If they're sending you also a PDF with their warehouse receipt number, you could attach that here to images and attachments as well. But don't overly rely on colors, and you'd be better off relying on your codes. And so you could bulk update your codes as well. So even here, let's go to select all and go to our three dots, and we're going to say, okay, well, let's bulk update. So, oh, actually wrong one. Let's bulk update the dates. So I want my order acknowledged date to be, I don't know what today is, the 19th. I'm going to hit save. And then, well, I also know that my estimated delivery date, well, they told me six weeks seems a little crazy. Let's say they told me next week. So I'm going to put in the 26th and I'm going to hit save. You could also change your view here and just look at your date view. Not all of the fields will populate, but some of them will. Remember, anytime you're in a different view, so for example, I really love my item list view. All of these columns are sortable. So if you wanted to, under dates, filter by, this date is blank, right? But filter by order acknowledged date or estimated ship date, you can do that by the column headers. If you go back to your detail, you go back to your codes, I filled in order acknowledged, I filled in estimated delivery. When the goods go to my receiver, well, actually, I think my ship to doesn't say receiver, it says 19th Street. So then once they're delivered, I would put my delivered date into here. From here, your codes filter to your expediting reports. You have a number of different expediting reports. So go to reports, go to all, and just type in expediting. The system will give you probably about a dozen or so expediting reports that come with Studio. I would say they really are amazing. We sort of gear everyone to say, or to look at all of the reports, just to click through them, open them up and say, you know what, I like this on this report, I don't like this, I like this, etc. And then we do create a custom, and I would recommend that. You should have, for sure, an independent internal expediting report, and then one for your receiver if you'd like, and then again, one to be client facing. But that way it ensures that the fields and the dates the firm committed to are the correct ones that you're looking at in here. So I don't know what's on this one. We could go see quickly. I don't think I actually love this first one. Delivered. Is there anything in the delivered column? Received. Oh, there's a couple things. Okay. So, and this is where using those fields consistently is going to play a pivotal role, because you would then use your filters to say, well, Studio, show me any item where the received field, we're going to say is not blank, but really you would say is blank, because that means I haven't received it at my warehouse. That means I have a problem. That means my install is next Friday, and how come this Eastern King bed hasn't come yet? I filtered it the other way because there was only one item with the receive date. But it really, you would do it in reverse to say, okay, well, I don't need to look at any of my items that have been received. I only want to see that my items that are problematic. So it's building out this report. You could add images into here. You could add your color status. I don't know what, let's see if we have anything good that's custom. What's in here? Okay, so this is better than the other one, I think. So my priority colors have been added. You could sort by your priority colors. You could add a client total balance into here. You could make this client facing as well. So you could then send it to a client before an install to say, client, you have all of these items that are shipping and getting delivered next week. But by the way, your balances are $22,000. Please remit payment so we could continue working our way through. I like adding a priority color into my expediting report, especially my internal one. If you're building out an expediting report for your receiver, you would add your ship to as well, because the receiver only needs to see the items that have been received by that particular warehouse. If you're using more than one warehouse, I don't know why you would be doing that, but let's say that you are, you obviously want to send the correct warehouse, the correct items. They just moved, by the way, they just moved these boxes. The CFA boxes are now over here where in the old item screen, they used to be in a different spot. So if you're somebody who uses CFA, just make sure to make note of that. So those are our expediting fields. Remember, you could bulk update them, but as you're tracking the item, and depending on who's doing that at the office, you would be using those fields. So let's just fast forward and pretend that we got these items. So now they're installed. Well, now they're received. Received? No, they said they were shipping to their house. Okay, so now they're delivered. So we're going to update our date. We're going to say this is delivered. We're actually, I don't know, we're going to say it was delivered next week. And reassigning a color so that way anyone visually could very quickly see too. Okay, the items have been installed, delivered. Let's see what we have in my bulk update in terms of my colors. I don't know offhand in this website, in this database. Oh, installed. So I do highly recommend that there's a color for installed. Again, you could run reports on it. You could run, you could filter it by installed in your item screen. It could be a great communication tool for accounting. So that way they know that they can invoice for it. And I was really that basically completes your workflow and your item life cycle. So let me know if you have any questions just in the last few minutes here. And otherwise, I hope it was informative.
Absolutely. And I want to make sure that we did get to that one question that I left in there. Going back to inspirations. Once an inspiration is
Oh,
created
sorry.
into an item, will that item remain in inspirations? I don't know if we covered it, but I just wanted to be sure.
No, we didn't.
Um, okay, so an inspiration once created will always remain an inspiration, but you can create an item out of it, which now lives in items. So they will always be independent of one another. So an inspiration will always be there until you deactivate it, delete it, whatever. Inspirations are one of the very few things in Studio that you can delete without fear of data integrity or losing something that is reported to the general ledger. But short answer, inspirations will
Yeah.
always remain inspirations. If you create an item out of it, that will now live in items, but they live and function independently of one another.
Yes. Sorry, that's a great, I'm sorry, I missed that one. That's a great point. And I actually think the goal is to continue to build out your inspiration library.
Oh,
Like what,
absolutely.
yeah, regardless of whether or not it becomes an item, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, maybe you use it 12 times in 12 different projects, or maybe you never use it. But the thought of it, right? The idea of this particular specification is still here. Yes.
Yep, 100%.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Julia. Super helpful. Learned something new about the vendor terms today that I could probably apply to my daily support cases that we answer. So thank you for all of that information. For those
Well,
of you who need support, Julia's information is up on the screen. So if you have any questions for her, her email is julia@newagefinancialconsulting.com. Excuse me, there's her phone and her website as well. Should you need help from Studio directly, absolutely use our chat bot. That's probably the quickest way to get a response. If you still need help, it can route you to an available agent if one is available. If not, it'll create a case that we'll follow up on for you. And then always you can email support as well and at help@studiodesigner.com and we'll create a case that way as well. So with that being said, thank you all for joining us today and taking time out of your busy day. We'll let you get back to it and we'll catch you next time. You all have a great day.
thank you, Anthony. You too. I'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.